Sorry, I was flipping through the death of Captain Marvel.
We're getting close to that.
We are. Because I had read, just for giggles, last night I read the Thanos Imperative and
Okay.
much of the lead up stuff to that. And that actually tied in directly with that, which is bizarre that they'd come back to something 40 years later.
Yes and no. Comics are all about retreading old things.
True, but alrighty.
All right, so let's get started.
Okay.
Welcome to Cosmic Tales episode 20, Guardians of the Galaxy podcast. I'm Jesse Butler, and I'm here with
Jeff Davis.
And today we are looking at the first part of a Captain Marvel Drax story. We're going to cover Captain Marvel 58 through 61. Any thoughts before we get started?
Remarkably similar plot line to, I think, a 3 or 4 comic spread we did not that long ago.
Yeah, that's back in,
yeah.
I think, Captain Marvel 27 through 29, around that era.
Where Captain Marvel beat Thanos with the Cosmic Cube, mostly by destroying it. Yeah, now we have similar situation where we've got Thanos in another state of defeat, one of many he will undertake over his lifetime. And Drax once again blames Captain Marvel for doing it. Amongst the hundreds of thousands of heroes, many of whom are also galactic heroes, who could have done it. It's still Captain Marvel's fault.
Yes, despite Captain Marvel not actually being the one who defeated him this time, it was Adam Warlock.
Yep. So, did you want to do writers and all that?
Yeah, so this one, the title is Death Cries the Destroyer. Well, the cover title says Death Cries the Destroyer. The inside title is A Destroyer Denied. We have writer Doug Moench. How do we decide we pronounce that?
Monick? We've got Doug. Doug is the writer.
Yeah, Doug. All right, I'm going to start over again. So, we have writer Doug Moench, artists Pat Broderick and Bob McLeod, letters D. Wool, colors F. Mooley, editor Roger Stern, and editor-in-chief Jim Shooter.
So, interestingly enough, we've got a completely different group of people than the first run where Drax was trying to take out Captain Marvel. Perhaps this group just hadn't read any of the previous ones?
You'd almost have to have read it, because I don't see how you'd get into this idea. Just
out of the blue.
Yeah.
Would you like to do a summary, or shall I?
Why don't you go ahead and do the first issue? See how.
Okay. So what we've got here is, after Thanos manages to use the power of the Soul Gem, and I can't remember if he gets the other ones or not. It's been a little while since I read it.
He actually got all of them and kind of merged them together into a giant soul egg,
which he then was using for his death ray. Thanos gets defeated by Adam Warlock, who kills himself and then resurrects from his soul gem to defeat Thanos by turning him into stone. Drax, despite being previously involved in this, was not around for this, and so missed all of that. But later finds Thanos' ship, finds him turned into stone, gets upset yet again because he's the one who's supposed to kill Thanos, nobody else. And through some leaps of logic, decides clearly the only person who could have attacked Thanos and turned him into stone is Captain Marvel. So he heads back to Earth. In the meantime, Captain Marvel has been separated from Rick for the second time, because after the first time, Rick wound up in the negative zone again, and then he got Rick out by having a villain who could assume the powers of any other hero, assume his negabands, slap them together, and for some reason it sucked Rick out. But this time around, Marvel's been trying to figure out what he needs to do on Earth since he's no longer associated with Rick. So he starts toying with the idea of having a regular persona. And at the start, he wants to work for an astronomy or an observatory. And then after that gets attacked, he decides it's too dangerous. So now he's, for some reason, going to Denver and just wandering around trying to figure out what to do. And that's when Drax shows up. The two of them fight, nearly decimate the entirety of downtown Denver. And then Isaac shows up and says, Thanos' plans are still in motion, even with his death. You need to come to Titan. It's in trouble. And Drax begrudgingly decides to ally with Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel senses that something's not quite right. And then at the end, we see that Isaac is apparently under Thanos' thrall, and has captured all of the Titans, and this is a trap. Dun dun dun. Any other thoughts?
Well, so like, even as they agree to team up, Drax is like, there is one other caution I must give you, Marvel. I am only doing what I must, and once we have concluded our business on Titan, I still plan to destroy you.
Well, he's the destroyer. That's what he does.
Yeah. It definitely... Yeah, this whole story is weird.
Yeah, because they definitely hit that Drax wants to destroy. I mean, he does clearly have a concept of innocence and doesn't want to just destroy haphazardly as much anymore, but yeah, he's pretty well locked into the whole destroying thing. Which, considering the fact, the weirdest juxtaposition here is you've got Marvel trying to figure out how to be something more than just a guy who runs around and beats up bad guys. And they bring in Drax, the guy whom they have, despite giving him character backstory and all of this, and clearly giving him a certain amount of autonomy beyond his destiny, they still just shove him back into the same box all the time. He's the destroyer. He's going to destroy. If he can't destroy, he's going to find some reason to destroy somebody else, because clearly they're at fault for destroying the thing he was supposed to destroy, and that's it.
Yeah, he doesn't have his own title, so he gets to be the example of what not to do.
Ah, okay. When you get your own title, you can actually go into some character development and stuff like that.
Yes, or at least if you get into a team book with Adam Warlock. Never mind.
Well, yeah, but that also involves a whole bunch of other stuff, like being lobotomized by your daughter.
Which we're coming up to soon.
Which is interesting, because that's a jump from the late 70s to the 90s, but I suppose not a lot of stuff was going on in the 80s. At least in this.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, we'll get to the lobotomy soon, but the Infinity stuff still have a ways to go. Yeah. Although Guardians didn't get a whole lot of action in the 80s.
Yeah.
Although we'll soon get to that awesome Rocket Raccoon miniseries.
Oh, well, that'll be good. So, 59?
Yeah, so that's pretty much it for... Did you mention that at the very last page or panel of 58, it kind of implied that there's something more going on, and Isaac is leading them into a trap.
Yes. Well, I just briefly mentioned the fact that it was clearly a trap, and that Marvel wasn't quite sure what was going on. Also, we're seeing him use his cosmic awareness more now, which towards the end of the previous run that we did with Marvel, it seemed like his cosmic awareness was just completely forgotten about. But in these later runs, I've read all the way up to like 62. His awareness is a more consecutive or more consistently used ability. It pops up a lot in this. But we do also have the Isaac has created something that is chatting off to the side, and it's also sinister and terrible. So it's not just one, but two people that Captain Marvel and Drax are going to have to face, because they've never done that before.
Yeah, so issue 59 is The Trouble with Titan. We have writer Doug Munch, penciler Pat Broderick, inker Bruce Patterson, letterer Clem Robbins, colorist Bob Sharon, editor Roger Stern, editor-in-chief Jim Shooter.
And again, we've got the interesting situation of the cover title is Trouble on Titan, the inner title is Trouble with Titan. And in this particular case, they're having a bit of a travel conversation as they're heading to Titan. Excellent 2-page spread, just a little ways in, where Marvel and Drax are facing each other as they have the conversation about the whole thing. Mostly recapping the previous one and little bits about the whole Thanos, Titan, Saturn history stuff. And they also are spotted by people who are clearly spies for Isaac, who, in a strange sort of metaphor, are humanoid things with eyeballs for heads, which clearly makes them superior spies, because all they have are eyeballs. No mouths, no noses, no ears, no nothing. Just an eyeball.
Yeah, I forget if we saw those back in the earlier Thanos War, or if they're just kind of newly created this time.
Oh, I'm sure we did. Also interesting, wearing helmets. Clearly they need to breathe atmosphere, and yet most of the rest of their bodies are exposed to space.
Well, clearly their thick reptilian skin is, vacuum safe.
I guess so. Then they enter into Titan, shoot down through a crater, which is secretly actually an elevator shaft, and we get a little side view of Titan into lovely garden that is full of spiders for some reason. And both spiders have captured Mentor and Eros. They fight the spiders, managed to free Eros and Mentor, and despite being a destroyer and Captain Marvel, they still can't kill the spider, but they get away from it. And Mentor and Eros lead them into a cave to try to get deeper into the planet to get to Isaac. And then Marvel uses, again, his cosmic awareness to realize that these are not actually the people they're looking for. They are demons of Lord Gaia.
Yeah, so this one is definitely remembering that Greek myth connection to the Titans, and a lot of weird stuff shows up.
Yeah, there's a lot more references to various incarnations of what were considered to be gods. We also get a flashback to Isaac's control chamber, where we find out who he was talking to, which is Stellarex, whom, despite being manufactured in the life baths, has a half cybernetic head. We also meet Elysius, who is clearly very wrapped up in Eros, to the point of being distracted from Isaac's greater commands. Marvel reveals the fact that his cosmic awareness has informed him that Isaac is a big fat liar pants, and that something else was going on.
Well, did we cover that the two that they rescued weren't actually Eros and Mentor?
Yeah, that they were the demons of Gaia.
Yes. Yeah, there we go.
Shapeshifters. So, not really having any other direction to go, they continue deeper in. Stellarex throws together an army because the other half of Isaac's Thanos plan is to conquer Earth because Captain Marvel isn't there. Again, ignoring every other hero on the planet, but Captain Marvel isn't there, so clearly he can conquer Earth.
Yeah, what's Captain America going to do against, hordes of demons?
Well, or Thor, or Iron Man, or
Quiet.
any of the Avengers, Doctor Strange. Anyway, deeper in finds Lord Gaia himself, the Earth God, who is living on Titan and not on Earth, who apparently has large quantities of shape-shifting aliens, who of course attack them because Gaia is working for Isaac, who's working for Thanos.
So I got to say, while they connected with the Greek myths, I don't remember there being a Lord Gaia.
Yeah, I think Gaia was a woman. Yeah.
Yeah, Mother Earth, okay.
Yeah. And I also don't remember her usually being portrayed as incredibly muscular but fat at the same time, and wearing nothing but a wrestling belt, I guess.
Yeah, they really seem like orcs.
They really kind of do, yeah. They don't have the tusks, but they definitely have the squat fat faces and lots of lumpy bits. Marvel and Drax fight the Gaia demons. We switch back to Stellarex. Stellarex reveals, haha, even though I was created by Isaac and programmed by Isaac, I'm completely self-autonomous and I'm going to conquer Titan. And when somebody tries to object, he bezacts them and they're reduced to a skeleton. And after Marvel and Drax take out all of Gaia's demons, they threaten Gaia's life. Gaia spills all the beans because there's no way that Marvel and Drax will be able to get to Isaac because the entire world has been turned into a death trap. Dun dun dun. Yeah. Again, it's very weird. I mean, sure, it's cosmic stuff, and cosmic stuff tends to be, let's go to strange planets and fight strange things. I mean, it's not a giant robotic donkey, so it's got that going for it. But it seems to be a lot more things are in motion and we're just reacting to them. So it doesn't make a lot of sense at this point.
Yeah, this whole planet's a death trap. It doesn't seem like the greatest plan. Because, I guess if they wanted to conquer Earth, they did want to distract Captain Marvel. But
which, again, why is Earth so gosh darn important?
Because that's where Marvel Publishing is.
So that's where everything is located.
I mean, hey,
But yeah,
I'm impressed that back in the last issue, Captain Marvel was wandering around Denver instead of New York.
true. That is odd. And why pick Denver? Much less. I mean, you could go to Chicago. You could go to Minneapolis. There's a lot of other big cities that people would be familiar with. Eh. Well, on to 60.
On to 60. So this one is Moon Traps and Paradise. Once again, writer Doug Minch, penciler Pat Broderick, inker Bruce Patterson, letterer Annette Kawecki, colorist George R., editor Roger Stern, editor-in-chief Jim Shooter.
And we've got a nice open page with Gaia on his throne of dirt. Recapping the last.
Well, I was going to say, I find it interesting. The cover is kind of a split thing that has, Moon Traps on Titan with pictures of Drax and Captain Marvel being attacked by snakes, and then Close Encounters in Kentucky, which has random cop in a cornfield with a spaceship flying overhead.
Which is the Earth invasion, because, of course, Kentucky's the place where you land for your invasions.
And you only need one spaceship to conquer all over Earth.
Well, it's a big... Well, actually, it's not that big. It doesn't look much bigger than his car. But still, it's probably bigger on the inside or something. But yeah, we've got Guy on his throne of dirt, pretty much recapping the last episode, where he's saying, you managed to defeat me, but Thanos has a master plan. It involves Isaac. He's your real foe, and you'll never defeat him. We also get the potential problem of the fact that Isaac is not only currently under Thanos' control, but he also controls all of the other functions on Titan. So they can't simply punch their way through this, because if they destroy the computer, then Titan no longer has the artificial environment and it dies. Guy again informs them of the fact that everything is death traps. It's death traps all the way down. And then they decide, you're not worth it. We're going to keep going. And Gaia attempts to attack them. Drax turns around and shoots him, which makes his energy blast hit the ceiling, and he is buried under a pile of rocks. Marvel says, did you really have to bury him under a pile of rocks? Drax says, yes, I am the destroyer. I destroy. And that is not glib. He literally says that.
Yep.
And again, Drax says, despite the fact that the two of them have been chatting and working together, as soon as they're done with this, I'm going to kill you, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel says, well, that's certainly reassuring. And they go further in. Then we have the classic UFO situation, which is two people next to their Volkswagen van make it out in the forest, see the aircraft or see the spaceship fly over. It's confirmed by a bunch of amateurs. And then the always fat and old sheriffs pull out to find the ship. And
I'm just going to assume that this is the same sheriff that encountered Groot long ago and also didn't believe young Peter Quill's mother was killed by aliens, and just the same sheriff.
It's all the same sheriff. Except this time, he's willing to believe. Because he sees the ship flying over, and he wants to tell people that it's there. Except all the physical evidence they've got is popcorn, because it's flying over a cornfield and setting them all on fire. So, Um, then we get back to Titan, where Drax and Captain Marvel now run into Dionysus, the satyr god, who is generally a lot more friendly and a lot less obviously death trappy than everything else so far. Offers them wine. They both drink and get drugged. And then, after being drugged and left on the floor, the other little people, I guess, elves, gnomes, or whatever, that are with Dionysus are saying, okay, we're supposed to kill him now. And Dionysus is like, bored already, and just wants to drink more wine. So he just leaves the two of them passed out on the ground. Then we go back to Isaac, Elysius being completely obsessed with Eros, and Isaac seeing no problems with this for some reason. And then in Kentucky again, we've got Stellarex running around with his armada, scaring everyone. Destroys a truck, and then I don't know if they hypnotize them or if they're just completely and utterly freaked out. But
I think it's supposed to be kind of hypnotized.
I'm getting that from the little sparkly bits. But effectively, they're being used to relay the message to the rest of Earth that Stellarex is going to conquer the Earth, and there's nothing they can do about it. On Titan again, we've got hints that Isaac is making another thing in the life baths. Elysius is saying that that Isaac's getting paranoid, and hinting that there's stuff going on beyond that. Marvel and Drax wake up elsewhere because apparently, despite the little gnome elf guys saying they needed to die, all they did was just haul them off to a vase and drop them there. They're then attacked by snakes. They've both been pretty well drained, so they're not doing great, but Marvel manages to suck enough energy out of the artificial sun to blast the snakes and save them both. At which point, Elysius shows up with two griffins and says, I'm here to kick your butt. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Not quite as jumpy and strange as Mantis's storyline, but definitely a lot of back and forth going on with this one.
Did you mention the 2 panels with Rick Jones?
There were 2 panels with Rick Jones?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Right after you first see the snakes, they go, a rehearsal hall in Europe. What's this? Where Rick Jones is jolted by the news. Kentucky family then claimed the mysterious being said, first Earth, then Titan itself. Titan? No time to explain, Mordecai. But I've got to leave now. Back to America. Sorry. But you can't leave now. What about the show? It's sold out. I can't refund all those tickets, and that's it.
Huh. That is not in my copy.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if that's because this copy may just not have it. Because one of the later ones that I got was for some reason it got chopped through the middle of it. But
certainly not super crucial in this version. But yeah, no, there's a little.
No, I remember in the next one, Rick Jones shows up because he's actually been reading about this, and they start to head off to Kentucky to figure out what's going on. Speaking of which,
yeah, so
61. So here we're going to have the wrap up of this, I believe.
A wrap.
Well, nothing is ever permanently wrapped up, yeah.
So yes, this is Chaos and the Pit. Writer Doug Minch, penciler Pat Broderick, inker Bruce Patterson, letterer Novak, colorist Sharon, editor Stern, and editor-in-chief Shooter.
And we've got Elysius in the inside here, clearly being the aggressor, but on the cover, we've got her clearly being concerned about Captain Marvel. So already we're getting hints that there's going to be some betrayal going on. And we start off with Drax being completely unconscious with a dead snake wrapped around him. Marvel is facing down the woman. And the woman chats with him for a little while, then sends her griffins after him. And so Captain Marvel uses his cosmic awareness to generate cosmic peace, which manages to calm the creatures enough that they don't attack. And this is apparently enough proof that she realizes that she's on the wrong side and that Captain Marvel is attractive, and thereby she'll do what he says, which, you know, feminism. And then she takes them to her skyship, which we're on the inside of a planet, which does have an artificial atmosphere, but they're going to fly a starship around to try to get to where they need to go. Drax is still relatively uncertain about all this because moments ago she was working for Isaac, who of course was working for Thanos, and Thanos means must destroy. And they also recap why they're all here and why they're going the direction they're going. Also, a little chance to catch their breath while they've been constantly death trapped. Yeah, see, and here's the section, I think. No, this is later on, because this is when, in this one, Rick Jones shows up with his new girl Gertie. The guys are mumbling about spread the word first Earth, then Titan, which Rick Jones knows what Titan is, so he's trying to investigate what's going on here. Says he's from U-Force, the Unidentified Flying Objects Research Center, with the E coming for something else, I guess. And this manages to get them out of the police department so that they can jump in a car and head off to Washington, D.C. now, because apparently Stellarex is relocating. And he's also saying, "Where's Marvel?" which they use as a segue to flipping back.
You'd think he'd think, let's call the Avengers, but no.
No, Marvel. Let's call the Avengers. Let's call any of the other heroes that we've currently got down here. No, where's Marvel? And then we've got them showing up at Isaac's main controls, which is surrounded by robots, so fighting through robots.
Well, and I like that they use her griffins to fight the robots.
True. I mean, they were going to fight Marvel, so one has to assume that they're fairly powerful. But, yeah, fights the robots, manages to get into the control panel. Isaac expresses surprise that Elysius has decided to switch sides. And then shows Isaac the wand that apparently disables the force field that holds all of the people of Titan. Captain Marvel, again, previously he had restored himself and Drax using the Naked Bands to flood them with solar energy. He does the same to restore all the Titans. And then giant melee with lots and lots of robots. Um, Elysium says, Marvel, wait, there's more. They go into the life baths. Um, she reveals that the last creation of Isaac is Chaos, the deity of space. Isaac shows up and completes the process, and now they have to fight Chaos that contains space itself. And Chaos sucks them all into space. Marvel gets sucked into a vortex and popped into Tartarus, which, again, Greek myth references, and begins to fight the Lord of the Abyss, who is giant tentacle Cthulhu kind of monster.
But with one eye.
With one eye, yeah. They like the one-eyed tentacle monsters, because they also had Shumagoreth, who big central eye, lots and lots of tentacles, toothy maws kind of thing. Mentor is concerned about Chaos spreading from where he is. And Drax and Elysius are trying to fight Chaos. Chaos says, ha 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 ha, I'm going to destroy the entire universe. Marvel continues to try to fight Thanatos, and manages to defeat him by inverting every atom within range with his negabands. Do not know how any of this stuff works.
It's pretty pictures. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And Katangs. The very important Katangs. And then he blasts Tartarus and manages to defeat him. Of course, he can't get out because it's a wormhole, effectively. And so they manage to defeat Chaos by diving into his heart, which causes a chain reaction, implosion, explosion, singularity kind of thing, which does not harm Elysium or Drax, but destroys Chaos. And then Marvel, who's just been sitting on Tartarus going, well, okay, wounds up in Isaac's computer core, and using his cosmic awareness, locates the point at which Isaac can continue to project himself around Titan. And then gets to the main screen and busts out of it. Then we go back to Earth, where Rick Jones and Gertie have found the ship and are assaulted by aliens. Marvel says, haha, you're defeated, Isaac. And Isaac says, haha, you forget that I control all the life support. So, screw you guys. Mentor asserts that they can make it by without Captain Marvel for a bit. They'll work on rewiring Isaac, go save Earth. Elysius, of course, kisses Marvel and says that she'll count the moments until Marvel returns, making Paradise again complete. At which point, Captain Marvel says, not Eros? And Elysius says, not when you're around. So clearly she has a thing for blonde guys. And then Drax and Marvel rush back to Earth to try to stop Stellarex.
Although Drax says, a pity, Marvel, that I must still destroy you when this is ended, now that you have so much to live for.
Yes, Drax, a pity.
Just gotta remind us that this whole time they've teamed up so that, eventually Drax can kill Marvel for no real reason.
Though I do feel that 62 needs some mention just because I think this is the point where Captain Marvel uses Drax's personality implicitly to solve a problem. Because what he does is effectively say, hey, those people are working for Thanos. And he's like, Thanos? Then I must destroy them. And he proceeds to destroy people.
Yeah, well, I think
he wasn't originally going to destroy, much less.
Right. I was going to say, I think we should go ahead and stop here, and then that'll give us 3 issues to cover the end of this story.
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes to Captain Marvel 62, and then for whatever reason he stops getting the title, and he goes to...
Okay, so that was it. Because I was like, I have 62, and I'm like, they say it's a continuing story. Where the hell did the story go?
Yeah, so the story continues on in Marvel Spotlight on Captain Marvel #1. I don't know why they needed to change the title. The Marvel Spotlight, I think, is kind of a rotating book, so it's Captain Marvel for a while, and then it goes is something else for a while. But yeah, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
So no, we have 3 more issues to actually wrap this whole story. So
okay,
we'll go ahead and cover issue 62, and then Captain Marvel 1, 2, and maybe 3. 3 is not actually related to this story, but it's got some more Captain Marvel and Eros in it, so we can take a look at it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely, like, at its heart, it's a simple story of, them teaming up, but Marvel, or Drax, wanting to destroy Marvel, and then, spoilers, by the end he probably decides not to kill Marvel. But
I assume it's because Thanos shows up again or something. Because that's usually what prevents him from wanting to kill Marvel.
Well, no, because Thanos is definitely still dead this entire story. But anyway, yeah. It's just kind of weird. But they introduce a lot more new characters: Dellarax, Elysius, and I gotta say, Dionysus is, I forget if he normally looks just like Pan, but he looks like a satyr in this, which is...
Yeah, I think they normally do him that way, much like they always do Gaia as a lumpy guy. So
right,
yeah, for some reason.
But yeah, this one definitely explores Titan more than I think we've seen before.
Aside from the first initial burst, where we had like the whole internal map of Titan and everything.
Sure, we had the map, but this we have heroes actually wandering around to different locations
on Titan. Yeah.
Instead of just, there's a control room and there's also a planet.
Alrighty. Well, I should probably go grab some breakfast before it gets too late.
Me too, but yeah. So, Drax wants to destroy things.
Yes.
Doesn't do a whole lot of actual destroying in this so far.
So far, no. It does a lot of fighting, not a lot of destroying. But yeah.
There is a lot of punching.
Did you want to wrap up?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. So, come back next time to get the thrilling conclusion of Drax and Captain Marvel versus the plan of dead Thanos.
Which doesn't go not how he intended.
Of course not.
Much like all of his plans.
And yeah, thanks for listening.
Bye.
All right, I'll catch you later.
Alrighty. Have a good night or morning.
Yeah.
Bye.
One of those. Bye.